Well, good morning, guys. Coming to you again today on a wet, balmy, uh, well, it's not balmy, but it's a cold, damp, wet morning here in North Carolina. It just seems like this is the new normal. It rains all the time here. And my backyard, guys, is nothing but a swamp, I promise you. This is rain here that was not forecast. And I don't know. It kind of messes up my plans. I've been working over at the big garden. Uh, you saw the video this week, where we had been over there clearing out some brush and stuff. And I worked on that yesterday, made some pretty good progress, and was happy with it. And then today, this is unexpected. This was not in the forecast. The last time I looked, it was supposed to be, cloudy, maybe a chance of partly cloudy or something like that, but no precipitation that I was aware of. And then here we are today. It's raining, so I must, according to what I saw, I was just reading earlier, it's supposed to clear on up after lunch today, so we'll see. I don't know whether I'll get to do anything or not, but that remains to be seen. So anyway, I've got other things that I can work on, so we'll be hopefully indulging in that here in just a little bit. But this is our first something different talk of 2021, and so we're here today, and I'm thankful that we're able to see another year. I know that a lot of folks did not make it through last year, and it's a sad time for a lot of people. But and there's a lot going on this year, guys. I mean, more than really, we could we that we really even want to think about. And I know, today's Tuesday that I'm making this. There is some things going on that could concern the future of our country today, and who knows where that's going to take us. And also, I understand that the day you'll see this, which will be the 6th, is going to be the deciding day. It could be. I'm really not looking for anything. I think of it like this: when you have a bottle of Pepsi Cola or something like that, and you shake it up and you screw the cap off and you look for it to fizz everywhere. If you get a hold of one that's dead and you shake it up, you screw the cap off and there's nothing there. And I think that's pretty much what this is going to be. It's going to be a pop the cap but no fizz. And I hope, but it is what it is, guys. But anyway, I want to get on into our talk today. And I want to thank each one of my subscribers. I know we have had several new subscribers to join, and I understand, a lot of those were Mr. Howie's subscribers. And we still want to continue to remember Cedar Creek Homestead, Miss Josie, Blade, the family, uh, all the family. And let's pray for them. That's a loss. And it's a loss that can't be filled. Uh, there's nobody that's going to take Mr. Howie's place. Mr. Howie was Mr. Howie. And, you know, he's no longer with us. But thankfully, he has given of himself over the years. And, the YouTube channel, the videos that he produced, they are worth a lot. And so, we want to continue to pray for them as, we go into the new year. And so, guys, I want to thank each one of you, my subscribers. I thank all of y'all for your kind comments, everything that you do for praying for us. I want to thank you for that as well. And so we want to get into our talk time today. And, I began to thinking about what's going on around us. And here we are entering a new year. And I hear a lot of people, talking about having positive thoughts going into a new year. And I don't want to go into a new year with negative thoughts by no means. But I also want to have some reality. Uh, you know, I want to look at this as a year that I can make better for myself, for my family, for my wife, uh, you know, regardless what happens around us. But at the same time, the problems that plagued me, that plagued all of us in the old year, they're still here, guys. You can turn your eyes away from it or whatever, they're still here. And we've got to learn how to deal with them, accept them, or whatever. And it's just like I was thinking about this. I've been thinking on, what I was going to talk about for a good week now. And I think about this. I'm overweight, and that's an issue with me. And my overweight problem has a lot to do with my appetite. I worked for a gentleman one time, and I'll never forget what he said. I told him, I said, I've been picking up some weight lately. And he said, oh, don't worry about that. He said, that just means something's agreeing with you. So I must have a lot agreeing with me. But anyway, no, it's an issue. It concerns my health. And I really want to pray that God will help me with this. But I love to eat, guys. I mean, there's some people that eat just to stay alive, and then there's people that stay alive just so they can eat, and I fit in that category because I love to eat. So anyway, uh, that's something that has entered the new year with me, and we hope that we can conquer this challenge. And you know, watch what we eat and try to make my health. Because I honestly believe if I could get my weight down, I think I would have a little more energy. And so I'm praying that God will help us with that. So anyway, let's get started in our talk time today. And let's talk about that for just a little while. There's a lot of negativity around us. We don't have to look far to find the negativity. But at the same time, guys, there is also positive things still around us. I've shared in some of the recent talk times that we've had. I have shared about the verse of scripture uh, talking about redeeming the time because the days are evil, and walking circumspectly. But that verse gives me hope, guys. And see, the God that we serve is bigger than all of these problems put together and multiplied 1,000 times. God is still bigger than that, folks. And so I take great consolation in that, knowing that my God is able to help us get through whatever we may face. And so, so far as me and my wife here, you know, doing what we're doing, there's very little I plan to change. If there's any change would take place, I'm going to hunker down that much more this year. Uh, I want to be able to produce more of our own food this year because I do have a goal in mind, and that is staying away from the grocery store as much as possible. And right now and that we still depend on that to some degree. But we hope and pray that we can eliminate that as much as possible and get our trips down to maybe once a month, that would really be a blessing if we could do that. But we still have children here. Well, not children; they're grown. But we've got our kids here in the home, so that makes it a little challenge. But I think if it was just me and my wife, I think that would be a little more realistic to be able to do that, because when you got kids, when you got kids, I hit my camera. But when you have kids, guys, that makes it a little challenging. But they're on their own, kindly, so to speak. Now uh, we've got our oldest. He is making plans to have a place of his own, and he's trying to get all of that worked out. And it's a challenge, guys, this day and time. So, you know, but I know how Mama is. She wants to keep them under her wing just as long as she can. So, but, you know, that's a goal that I have, is to stay out of the grocery store, because I'll be honest with you, right now I'm at the place I don't want to go nowhere. I don't want to be off anywhere. And the town that our church is in, we have been told that it is a hot spot for the virus. And so, you know, it's even, you know, got me wondering about that. Uh, you know, you just don't know now. So you've got to be vigilant, and you got to walk circumspectly. I just seen can't get away from that. But how do you go into a world full of negative and remain positive? How are you going to do that? And I began to think yesterday of a story that we read whenever I was in high school in our English class. I remember a story that came to mind, uh, and the title of it was I Remember Mama. And it was talking about a family that grew up during the Great Depression. I want to say this, the story was probably written in maybe the late 30s, early 40s. I can't remember all the particulars about it, but the parts that I do remember, it centered around a family that was poor, and they were coming up struggling through the depression, and they had very little. But one thing that was said that they had, when they would gather around the table and they would count their money and to see, you know, how much they had to allot for each bill and things of that nature. And it would look close a lot of times, and the sisters would all reassure each other, don't forget about Mama's bank account. Don't forget about Mama's bank account. We've always got that to fall back on. And anyway, as the story ended, they found out that there never was a bank account, that was a tool invented by the mother to keep the children from panicking and to give them some peace. And you know, I thought about that. Some people would say, well, didn't that mother lie to her kid? I'm not sure if she did or not. You know, the thing about a lot of stories that were written during that time, there's a lot of fiction that could be, well, I don't know if it'd be fiction or not, but there's things that could be written into it through our minds to get the real answer. And I'm not so sure, but what she did not have a solution, provided that they could not make ends meet. They had some kind of a solution there, whether, you know, it might have meant selling a cow or selling a some kind of their livestock, or maybe some of their belongings that they had that was precious to them, no doubt, that they could sell in the event to make enough money to make ends meet. Guys, that's something that's not that uncommon. I mean, even in my household here, there's been times that we've had to sell items just in order to make our house payment, or to make a car payment, or whatever the case may be. There's been times we've had to do that. And guys, that's nothing new throughout history. And people has forgotten how to do things like that. They've forgotten how to function whenever life gets hard. I know too many people that whenever they run into a brick wall, they just give up. They quit. They don't have no grit to them. They don't have no gumption is an old word that I've heard a lot of people use growing up, gumption. And I think about that. Every time I think of that word, I remember when I was working out here at the hosiery mill years ago, and we had the young man that come in there, and we had those buggies that we had to roll around. We would put the work in them, and we would push the work around. And we had some of them, honest to goodness, they had square wheels on them. I mean, they pushed hard. And this boy that they had hired, if he found one with square wheels, that was just the end of it. I mean, he didn't know what to do with it. And you've got two choices: hunker down and eat your Wheaties and push that thing as hard as you can, or empty it out and put it in one that you can. And he wouldn't do neither one. He'd just stand there and look. And I'll never forget a gentleman there that we worked with. He said he ain't got much gumption to him, has he? And I've just never forgotten that. And guys, that's where we're at in our society now. Nobody has any gumption anymore to get up and go. I mean, it don't take nothing to throw people out of gear now. But we've got all the negativity around us, and that's enough to knock our gumption out, I guess you could say. So how do we deal with this negativity? Well, it goes back to the story that I just told you about. I remember Mama. She did not want the fact that they were poor and stood on the very thin edge of losing everything they had, everything that they had worked for could be wiped. But she did not want that fact to prevent her children from sleeping and resting at night. And she did not want to take and spoil the joy of her children. So with that being said, guys, that kind of brings me to what I want to say. Is there's some things, guys, that are just best left unsaid. It don't change the fact that it's not there. I was thinking this morning early about Samson in the Bible. And if Samson had kept his mouth shut, he would have been a lot better off. But we all know the story, how Delilah got him in her lap, and he began to spill the beans as to where his strength and where his power came from. And that's all she wanted. She just wanted to hear him talk. And guys, that's what the devil wants. Guys, I'm happy to be out here on the porch. I planned to do this over at the garden today, and it didn't work out because of the rain. So I'm out here on my porch today, and I apologize for all the racket. It sounds like I'm right in the middle of New York City. But that's all the devil wants us to do, is to speak. The devil don't know everything. Did y'all know that? Now, I'm going to be one to tell you that there's things he does not know. So therefore, we need to put a lid on it. Because, guys, if he don't know it, there's no sense in us telling him about it. And he's got an ear, believe me, listening for whenever we speak, whenever we talk. And there's just things that he does not know. So there's times we just need to be quiet. There is a ton of things I could tell you guys here, and I don't want to. I want to prepare you, but at the same time, I don't want to tell you to scare you. Uh, there's just some things, unless God gives me peace, I'm not going to open my mouth about it. I'm not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole, so to speak. And, like I say, I try to be careful of how I choose my words. And there's a lot of things I can't say on here because I risk having the channel taken down. And so I really have to be careful with what I say, the words that I use, and the message that I try to convey. So with that being said, there's just some things that's just best left unsaid. And because I think back at the beginning of last year when the virus came out, some of them, some of our leaders has questioned Mr. T, if you know who Mr. T is. They questioned, why wasn't more things did? Why wasn't this brought out into the open more? Why this? Why that? And Mr. T's reply was not to bring on a panic. Now, guys, there's a lot to be said about that. I have been, not in Mr. T's position, but I have been in positions of authority and positions, where I was the leadership. And that was one of the first lessons that I learned, was keeping a cool head. It's real easy, guys. Anybody can fly loose and just go ballistic. I've been guilty of that many times. But guys, it takes some integrity and self-control to be able to remain cool and keep a cool head and remain calm and walk circumspectly and redeem the time. That takes a lot of self-control. And I was put in a position not too awful long ago where I had to exercise that self-control. I amazed myself. Well, it was God. Let me just put it like that. God did it. I did not do it. If I did what my flesh wanted to do, I would have probably, there's just no telling what I would have probably done. But it's been several years ago now, but the last job that I had, we run a 3-shift operation, and I worked the 3rd shift, and my boss man had asked me would I be his assistant, and pretty much that meant whenever he was not there that I was to help out in the office, taking care of the computer, shutting off machines that needed to be shut down in the computer, and closing that out, and plus keeping an eye on everybody and watching what they were doing, and making sure everybody was safe. And so I agreed to it, and he kind of showed me the ins and outs of everything. But anyway, make a long story short, one night we were in there, and I had taken my break, and the gentleman that I always took break with, we were sitting there in the break room just talking, and a lady came off the floor, come out there to the break room to me, and said that I needed to get back out there on the floor real quick. Said that so and so and so and so was going at it. So I looked at my buddy, and we smiled at each other, and I took a deep breath, and I headed back out. And the it had done taken place, and it was pretty much over with. Uh, I think my janitor seemed like he may have intervened and separated the two parties, and so they were all in their separate places, recuperating. And I began to think, okay, what do I do here? So I go to my toolbox and I grab my cell phone and I called my boss man. He told me, he said if something happens that I needed him to call him. So this is a major emergency. So I call him. And so he instructs me what to do, and we do it. But I've done my best to count to 10 and keep a cool head and say, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. And guys, I made it through it. And I'm a stronger person today because I made it through that and I kept a cool head. So guys, that's what we've got to do in these days. I'm telling you, there's going to be some things that's going to try our patience in the coming days. And we can lose it. And I want to say something about losing it. We lose a lot more than we realize when we lose it, when we lose our cool. That's when I'll get mad. Guys, I'm just speaking for myself. We'll get mad, or I will. I'll get mad, lose my temper, lose my cool, throw something, slam something on the floor, and end up breaking something and costing me a lot more money. There's an item here in the home that sticks out like a sore thumb. It's in my videos. I'm not going to tell you what it is. But I lost my cool. Well, y'all going to be looking at every one of my videos inside that house now trying to find it. But I lost my cool when we moved back into this home. And we were trying to do some cosmetic touch-ups and everything before we moved back in. And there's a piece of the structure here that was damaged, and I was trying to repair it and put it back together as best I could, and I just got mad, just for a whole instance just lost my cool, and I just throwed it down. Well, when I did, I broke it again, and now I've got to look at it, and it's just an eyesore to me. Now, most people would not even know that it's there unless I pointed it out to them, but I know it's there. And so, guys, we've got to live with the consequences that we make. So, as we go into this new year, yeah, I think we ought to go into it with a positive attitude, but we also need to go into it realizing that all the negative is still there. It's not went nowhere. And we're going to have to deal with it, but how are we going to deal with it? And I think so many of my talk times recently they all intertwine together some way. But let's do it with a cool head. So that term right there resonates with another instance in my life. We had a situation in the plant that I worked at, and there was a time that there was being some major layoffs, and I mean, boy, they were cutting it back to the bare bones and then taking some. And I mean, man, I was just getting, anxiety was just through the roof, and thought, what in the world? And everybody's getting ill, and they just cracking down. They wanting you to work harder, wanting you to do this, wanting you to do that, but yet at the same time they cutting your hours back where you couldn't make nothing. And I mean, just people just getting ill, and there wasn't pretty much like it is now, weren't no jobs extra around. So I'll never forget what a older gentleman. Guys, I always like to be around older people. I learn a lot. And he said, now's not the time to lose your cool, buddy. He said, now's the time to keep a cool head. He said, because you start flying off at the mouth, he said, you'll be the first one out the door. And boy, I really listened to that. And I'm so thankful that I did. And, you know, there's just things best left unsaid. And losing your cool and flying off at the mouth is not the answer. So, guys, I don't know how I'm going to even title this. It's kind of scattered today to what I wanted, I really wanted to say, but there's just some things best left unsaid. And if I think, if I was probably to title it today, that's probably what it's going to be. There's a lot that I could say, and it would scare the daylights out of a lot of people. And it's just best to leave it be. I just think, I don't know why all this is coming to me. I remember another gentleman I worked with, older gentleman. He had this saying, he said, just let sleeping dogs lay. Leave them alone. They won't bite you. And I mean, there's a lot of truth into that. And you know what? Most of the stuff that we worry about is something we cannot control. Did you realize that? And most of the stuff that we don't worry about that happens is things that we can control. It's just like my weight. I believe that's something that I can control. It's just the ambition to do it. And so I'm just going to ask for your prayers there. I don't want God to take my appetite away, but because I really enjoy eating. But maybe just not eating quite as much. I don't know the answer there. But anyway, guys, I appreciate you watching today. And let's walk circumspectly, as I said. Let's redeem the time, because the days are evil. But at the same time, the Bible has a verse. I remember my oldest son, I remember him, he quoted it a lot. And I can't remember it word for word, but it talks about something about keeping quiet and to do our own business. I can't remember it. Maybe if I look it up and think it up, I'll put it in a caption in here for you. So anyway, guys, y'all have a great day. Thank you for watching, and thank you for the past year. You guys, y'all made my channel successful, and I want to thank each one of you for that. So I'm looking forward to this year. I've got several ideas of projects that I want to do, and so we're looking forward to that. So anyway, guys, pray for us. We'll be praying for y'all, and y'all have a wonderful day. Thank you from Little NC Farmer.